begin by saying that I believe the CSIR is the jewel in the crown of the public research system of South Africa. And that it has been so for a very long time. You've heard that it was established over 7 decades ago, and my eyes are beginning to seem as though they're 7 decades old, which is quite amazing because I'm very far from that. But it was developed and created to support the emergence of a manufacturing industry in South Africa and to advance the development and concretizing of new ideas and innovative approaches to addressing the problems of South Africa's economy in the mid-1940s. As you all know, today we face a particular set of socioeconomic challenges, and when you look at them, they're somewhat strikingly similar to those that were confronted when the CSIR was established. And so I think that what we need to do is to look at how we provide as government increased support to this institution to help us enhance and expand industrial activity in our country, to refine our manufacturing processes and industries, to promote innovation, and to support us in training the skill sets that we would need to then ensure that the initiatives we put in place are carried through in a long-term sustainable manner. This is what I think we need to support the CSIR to help us do. As a country, we are still too dependent on extractive industries as a contribution to our economic progress. And we also rely primarily on agricultural goods to enhance and support our economic growth. But it's become clear that we need to look beyond these sectors if we are to achieve new growth. So while I believe very, very strongly that agriculture is absolutely vital to our country, I think without agro-processing, it will not mean very much. So while I believe very, very strongly that the mining sector is of critical importance to South Africa, given our rich mineral resources, and not just to South Africa, but the entire African continent, because of the bounty of natural resources that we have. I believe that this resource, rich as it is, will not mean very much without beneficiation and innovative value addition. And so, having those beliefs and recognizing that our economy and our attributes are in fairly desperate need of technological prowess and innovative thinking, to my mind, it would only be sensible to rely on the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research to help us get to that point. I mention the African continent as I speak about South Africa because there aren't a plethora of institutions similar to the CSIR available on the African continent. And thus, as South Africa and this Science Council, we have an important obligation to the rest of the continent. And we need to honor that obligation. So as we develop solutions, processes, and interventions in our country, we will have to pay close attention to what we do along with our partners on the African continent. The CSIR is already supporting the emergence of a range of innovative institutions. I've been admiring in the past few years of the work that they have done in supporting us to make our small and medium-sized enterprises much more innovative. I think what they've done through providing support in biotechnology, through establishing a biorefinery processing plant, through supporting advanced manufacturing, as well as through investing in nanotechnology research, they have incredibly enhanced our ability to produce enterprises that are leading edge enterprises in our country. And we really applaud the CSIR in this area, and I hope that they'll continue to do much more to support us, because if we can grow the SMME sector, make it more efficient, make its products more attractive, use science to enhance what emerges from this sector, we have the potential to really grow our economy. Most economies that are on a growth path at the moment are on that path because of very able, very nimble, very productive, very innovative, small and medium-sized enterprises. So the key for us is utilizing our science councils, particularly this one, to see how we can advance the progress we've made into 1 million SMMEs, 3 million, that thrive and that support the economic growth of South Africa, and then potentially move into other parts of the continent to do and support similar work, establish similar institutions, and really encourage robust innovation and development throughout the continent. For me, the CSIR has really placed industrial research support at the epicenter of its work. And I think that is an exciting development for us to see in a science council of this nature in South Africa. I'm keenly looking forward to how the CSIR is going to respond to the challenges that the program director, Tim Modise, has put before it, in the context of the pervasive influence of technology. How ready is South Africa to grab the opportunities? And which are the ones that we think are most critical for us? So how do we see, for example, the role of artificial intelligence in education? What is its place in our classrooms? What do we see as the future development of mobile technology, which is so available in South Africa and in many countries on the continent? What role might it play in improving the quality of education? Because a reliance purely on those who teach within the classroom will not give us the kind of breakthroughs that we need. So technology must be utilized to play this critical role in our education system and other training sectors. What do we see as digital economic opportunities? What form of digital development do we anticipate in South Africa? And what is the predictive capacity of the CSIR to actually be able to see 20, 30, 40, 50 years hence? Having an insight that many of us do not have. What should we be putting in place to ready ourselves for that change? Everybody was talking in Japan about how the fact that we're living longer means that we're going to have to think of older people in a different way. The fact that we're developing artificial intelligence to such a high level that robotics is becoming so important to humanity, that we will see robotics in the health sector, in many of the service industries, that all of that implies quite a change dynamic in terms of how we view our role both in the economy and broadly in society. How do we make leisure a useful part of our lives? What kind of leisure are we talking about? And who is thinking about these things in Africa? So there are real challenges posed by technology. You know, people just talk about, oh, if we have technology, if machines are doing this, we're going to lose jobs. Who said you have to work? What about different kinds of work? What about leisure? And what do we predict? How do we prepare our society for what is to come? Because as we realized, with the development of mobile technology, you cannot push back technology. I still remember in 1986 when we were using DOS. Do you remember DOS? And putting it in the thing in your little computer. I think then it was like 386 or something. Huh? And look at where we are today. You cannot hold back progress. But what you need to do is look at how you think anew about what society should be doing. And we need to really begin to help South Africans to understand that we want to be part of the movement of the future. We have no intention of being left behind, and we have institutions that are capable, very capable to lead us there, that we will allow technology to change the way we live. We will allow technology to change the way we do business. We will allow technology to change the way we resolve our problems. But we will be prepared to do that because we have institutions that can support us to be ready for all of this. And one of those institutions is this one, the CSIR. So what are we, or what am I looking for at the present time? 70 years after we had the CSIR established in South Africa, what I think we're looking for is transformative innovation. This is a complex process that we're talking about. For me, it goes beyond innovation which modifies. We do a lot of this type of innovation already. We improve systems. We make sure that things run faster. We make sure that goods are produced more cheaply, more efficiently. But what we are looking for is much more than that. If we are to derive significant benefit from science, technology, and innovation. So we're not just talking about innovation, we're talking about transformative innovation. It's a rather different order of demands. I'm not talking about disruptive technologies either. I'm not talking about the Ubers and so on. I think we need to reflect on and plan for much more. We need much more reflection on our context and how we will utilize innovation and the skills in the CSIR to provide responses to the challenges all of us talk about, of poverty, of unemployment, and inequality. And I see the obligation to define responses not lying only in the CSIR. I see it lying, Dr. Kobela, in the NRF as well. I see it in our universities. I see it lying in the private sector as well. The private sector needs to be drawn in, as Dr. Dlamini has already promised, to play a role in defining these new approaches, these new solutions, these new institutions, these new opportunities. South Africa has the institutional and intellectual capital to do really well if it conceives of itself differently. And one of the things I like about the CSIR, they don't have a deficit notion of themselves. They believe they can do things. But a lot of us have a deficit notion of ourselves. You know, if you were to spend 4 days here, you will never accept another negative story about South Africa, because your eyes would have been open to a level of talent that you have not explored as yet. We are incredible. And I think we have to get to the point where we have a much greater appreciation of our capabilities, and where we recognize with the institutions and sectors available to us, we actually can be quite an incredible country. We don't need to admire anybody else. What we need to do is utilize our resources to build a really great country. And we're so fortunate, actually, as a people, because out of our odious history, a wonderful opportunity has been created. How are we going to use it? Will we create a new society where the talent of every person is able to be realized, where science, technology, and innovation play a role in creating new opportunities, in providing solutions that address our deepest problems? Can you imagine if from this country comes the latest and newest drugs against tuberculosis? Can you imagine if in this country comes the solution to prevent HIV infection? Can you imagine if out of this country comes a reduction in malaria deaths throughout the African continent? It is possible. We have the talent, but we need to marshal it to work to good effect. I'm not sure we're doing that yet, but I see a lot of it happening right here in the CSIR, and I hope that you will take a few moments during your stay here at the conference, or you will apply to Dr. Lamini and his team that you need those 3 days Minister Pandor talked about, just to walk around the campus and get to see what your country is capable of. Because we have a brilliant institution here, and it should make every company, every professor, every researcher proud to be associated with this institution. I know, CSIR, sometimes we have a fight between me and them, but I'm a minister and I must fight with you when I need to. Ever. Any fight doesn't take away from the fact that there's talent, there is ability, and there has been real performance. So when I give you a hard time, don't worry. It's my job as a minister to do that. I have to report somewhere to Parliament. But what we need from you is the use of the best talent, the best machinery, the best laboratories. We want to see them utilized to the good, which is surely the human and economic development of our country. So I think I've kind of covered what I wanted to say. I wanted to conclude by saying that our country actually has an example of a scientific endeavor that is among one of the most incredible in the world. This building we're undertaking of the square kilometer array puts us among the first rank in the world. And the building, which we're now near completing, of the Meerkat, and DJ, I hope I won't regret saying that in a few months, is an engineering feat of incredible proportions. And out of us leading in such an initiative has come immense opportunity in complex high-performance computing, economic opportunity. What we do about big data, what we do about new programming opportunities, what form of hardware we should build, what kind of instrumentation we need to convert wireless data into imagery. The SKA has put South Africa on the global map of science. The opportunities and the interventions being led by the CSIR are going to put South Africa on the global map again. With undertaking the square kilometer array, we've shown we can manage and lead global scientific projects. And I think through the CSIR, we have shown we have the capability in industrial research and engineering development to be among the leaders of the world. So all I look forward to is to continue to be a happy advocate of the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research. And I hope you enjoy the conference. Thank you very much.